Hey guys, Melissa here from Melissa Mancuso Art. For this painting, I used a pre-toned canvas panel by Fredrix. It's from their Can-Tone line in the Terra Gray color. I actually was lucky enough to win this a little while back in a Facebook giveaway that they had. I'm using various artist grade oil paints for this painting, but you can use whatever oil paints you have. However, you will notice the difference in quality if you use the artist grade paints. If you can't afford artist paints, Winton, which is made by Winsor Newton, also make very good student grade paints. They're what I started out with. They're not as highly pigmented as the artist grade paints, but they're great for learning. The brushes I'm using are mostly the Hobby Lobby generic brand. They're called Master's Touch. They're my go-to paintbrush for most things, though you'll see me use a variety of long-handled paintbrushes. Ones that I use are labeled for oils, and some are actually labeled for acrylics. It doesn't matter to me. As long as they are long-handled, I'm happy with them. As far as a mixing medium for this painting goes, I was trying out Walnut-Alkyd medium by M. Graham. This was my first time using this medium. I normally use liquid for oil painting, but since I was painting this in the winter in New England, I wasn't able to use liquid since I can't have my windows open without freezing to death, and liquid is not good for you to breathe in for long periods of time. Walnut oil is supposed to be non-toxic, and they do sell just a regular walnut oil without any alkyd medium in it, or you can buy their walnut alkyd medium, which is supposed to dry a little faster than the regular walnut medium. This painting still did take several days to dry, so it's not as quick as my liquid at all, but is a good substitute if you're in New England or a place that's colder like I am, and you can't have your windows open or have good ventilation. I don't know the exact colors that I used for this painting, but that's not always what you should be focusing on. The values are so much more important than the exact colors. Since I'm a colorblind artist, when I began, I focused for the longest time on exactly what colors that I needed to use, and I was actually following recipes from other artists as far as what colors to use goes for, painting mountains and painting trees and painting grass. I was following the exact colors that these other artists were using, and I wasn't actually able to create my own artwork because I was at a loss as to what colors to use. I needed basically a paint by number. But once I got rid of that and started focusing more on the values than the exact colors that I needed, my artwork improved significantly, and I found that I was actually able to, paint things that I wanted without a tutorial. Since this is a sunset scene, I used more yellows and more orange colors for the sky. I start off with a base of yellows, and I mix my reds and my purples and my oranges into it. This is very easy to do with oils, but you'll find this a little more difficult to do if you're painting in acrylics unless you're a really fast painter. For the distant trees and the hills, I want them to be more of like a grayed and purple color, which will help them recede into the background a bit instead of popping forward. I gradually darken the trees as I go forward and closer to the viewer, so that this helps develop that sense of distance. When it comes to actually painting snow, you'll notice that snow isn't actually white. I'm using a grayish purple color that I've mixed for the base tone of my snow, and I'll blend white and different pale yellows into the base layer to create the look of the snow. For darker snowy areas, I simply use less white in my grayish purple mixture. Now this big ridge that you see going down the middle of the painting, in my reference photo it looks like those were footsteps. You don't have to leave something like that in if you don't like it in your reference photo. I happen to like it, so I left them in. But I'm just using my darker base gray purplish color for that area, and then I'm layering on top some of my lighter whites and yellows that I'm using for the rest of the snow to give a little bit of a sense of depth. Now in some areas you'll see me come in with a palette knife and I'll have a bunch of color on that palette knife when I'm putting it onto the canvas. I have a bunch of white mixed in with a little bit of brilliant yellow by Richeson, which is one of my favorite oil paint colors, and I'm scraping that into the canvas board to give a little bit of texture to my snow. You can see me using my hand to kind of blend out a little bit in some areas, but not all areas. It's important when you're oil painting to blend in some areas a little bit, but you don't want to overblend, so you don't want to blend every single stroke that you put down. I'm wearing the gloves because it's not only because there are some pigments that can be harmful to absorb into your skin depending on what paints you're using, but also because it makes cleaning your hands after painting so much easier. If you've ever tried to clean oil paints off your hands with just like ivory dish soap or whatever you have on hand, it takes so long. Wearing the gloves, I can just peel the gloves off, wash my hands like I normally do, and call it a day. For these little skinny trees and little grassy marks that you see me putting in, I'm using a liner brush with thin down oil paint to create those tiny details. I thinned down my paint in this instance with odorless mineral spirits, though you can also use turpentine or whatever other mixing medium you're using. So you can actually use the Walnut-Alkyd medium if you want, or any other oil medium that you have. So here is the finished painting. If you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. And if you would like to see more, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and I'll be sure to see you again. All right, thanks guys.